for distant I'll start again. O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities for far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers.
Text 50. Buddhi yukta jahatiha ubho sukrite dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujusva yoga karmasu kaushalam.
A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work.
Text 51. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishana janma bandha vinirmukta padam gachanti anamayam.
By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead.
Text 52. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shotvayasya shutasya cha.
When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard.
Text 53. Shuti vipratipanna te yada sthasyati nischala samadhav achala buddhi tada yogam avapyasi.
When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness.
Text 54. Arjuna vacha sthit pragasya kabhasha samadhi sthasya keshava siddhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk?
Text 55. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmani Evatmana Tushta Sthit Pragna Taduchyate.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness.
Text 56. Dukkeshu anudvigna mana Sukkeshu vigata spriha Vitaraga bhaya krodha Sthitdhir muni uchyate.
One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind.
Text 57. Ya sarvatra abhisanehas Tattat prapya subhashubham Nabhinandati na dveshati Tasya pragya pratisthita.
In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge.
Text 58. Yada sanharate chayam kurmo angani sarvasha indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya pragna pratisthita.
One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness.
Text 29, text 59. Vishya vinivartante niharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya paramam tishtva nivartate.
Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness.
Text 60. Yatto hi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschita indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham mana.
The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them.
Text 61. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matpara vashe hi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratisthita.
One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence.
Text 62. Dhyato vishyan punsha sangaste supajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho abhijayate.
While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises.
Text 63. Krodad bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhrama smriti bhramshad buddhi nasho buddhi nashat panashyati.
From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool.
Text 64. Ragadvesha vimuktestu Vishyan indriyas charan Atma vashe videyatma Prasadam adhigacchati.
But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord.
Text 65. Prasade sarva dukkhanam Hanir asya upajayate Prasanna chetaso he ashu Buddhi paryavitishthate.
For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established.
Text 66. Nasti buddhi ayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavyata shanti ashantasya kuta sukham.
One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace?
Text 67. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano anuvidhiyate tad asyaharati pragnam vayurnavam ivambhasi.
As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence.
Text 68. Tasmadhyasya mahabaho nighritani sarvasha indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya prajna pratisthita.
Therefore, O mighty armed, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence.
Text 69. Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato mune.
What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled. Mataji, can you scroll up a bit, please? What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Hare Krishna.
Text 70. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudramapa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sa shantim apnoti na kama kami.
A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires.
Text 71. Vihaya kaman ya sarvan pumam charati nispriha nirmamo nirahankara sa shanti marigachati.
A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace.
Text 72. Esha brahmi sthita partha nanam prapya vimuhyati sthitva sham antakale api brahm nirvanam rachati.
That is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God.
ओम तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्याया योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे सांख्ययोगो नाम द्वितीयोऽध्यायः. Hare Krishna. Please forgive my mistakes. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you both Matajis. It was really lovely. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Santosh Mataji. Thank you, Asalila Mataji. That was a very beautiful recitation. So this evening we will be covering a very nice. Now we are getting into the last section of this chapter. We had divided chapter 2 into 3 parts. Normally we do one chapter every day, but this chapter has so many verses. So we thought, let's divide this chapter into parts so then it is easy. And this is how our Goswamis did, any big task, they divided into parts and then it was easy for them to achieve. Just give me one moment. I'm just going to mute everybody so there is no background noises. So this evening, we are going to keep a short session. It's Rath Yatra tomorrow, so we'll try to meditate on the Rath Yatra. I've requested my wife, Vendarika Ramya, to sing Jagannath Ashtakam. So it is also her birthday today, so I thought it's probably the best thing to do. She can also take part and make an offering to Lord Jagannath. So I hope it's okay with everybody. At 8:30, we will do the recitation of Jagannath Ashtakam. So we will.
That's wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji, for endorsing that. So let me take you all to a journey of text 49. Durena hi avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddha sharanam anvicha kripana falahetava. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. Purport. One who has actually come to understand one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord gives up all engagements save working in Krishna consciousness. I'm going to have to read this line of Prabhupada once again. One who has actually come to understand one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord gives up all engagements save working in Krishna consciousness. I'll read it one more time. One who has actually come to understand one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord gives up all engagements save working in Krishna consciousness. As already explained, Buddhi Yoga means transcendental loving service to the Lord. Such devotional service is the right course of action for the living entity. Only misers desire to enjoy the fruit of their own work just to be further entangled in the material bondage. Except for work in Krishna consciousness, all activities are abominable because they continually blind the worker to the cycle of birth and death. One should therefore never desire to be the cause of work. Everything should be done in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of Krishna. Misers do not know how to utilize the assets of riches which they acquire by good fortune or by hard labor. One should spend all energies working in Krishna consciousness, and that will make one's life successful. Like misers, unfortunate persons do not employ their human energy in the service of the Lord. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravadi Pracharire Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatra Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhe Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. I'll read this first line once again of Srila Prabhupada's purport. One who has actually come to understand one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord gives up all engagement save working in Krishna consciousness. I mean, where else will you find such an understanding of one to understand what is one's life's goal, which is to come to Krishna consciousness. And then second, to understand once you've come to Krishna consciousness and you have understood what your constitutional position is, which is Jevera Swarup Hoye Krishnera Nityadas, that our Swarup, our real constitutional position is to be servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. As His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj says, million times removed. And that's how much wonderful your position becomes actually. And so once you've understood your constitutional position, then the person who's understood it, or that servitor of the Lord, he gives up all engagements, save, that means except the only thing which he takes on is working in Krishna consciousness. So it is a very rare position, because Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita that such a soul is very sa mahatma sudurlabha. That such a soul is a very rare soul actually. So now in this particular verse we see Krishna is telling Arjuna that, oh Dhananjaya, keep all the abominable activities far distant, by devotional service. So he's giving a hint to Arjuna that it's not a great idea while you're practicing Krishna consciousness, or one who's in Krishna consciousness, to be able to carry on performing sinful activities while one is engaged in Krishna consciousness. So this is something for all of us to guard against, and be wary of. And I'll share some key points, and I'll read something from his transcript of a lecture of Srila Prabhupada gave on this and the 50th verse in New York in 1966. So let me share my screen with you all with some bullet points for this particular section. So I hope and pray everybody is keeping well. So this is the theme of this particular verse, that reject all abominable actions and act in Buddhi Yoga. Arjuna is recommended to keep all abominable activities, fruitive actions far distant by devotional service and surrender unto the Lord. So I want to read a couple of paragraphs from this lecture Prabhupada gave. He says that as we have explained, Buddhi Yoga means devotional service to the Lord. So you have to do everything based on the criteria of Buddhi Yoga or devotional service to the Lord. That is the technique. Durena hi avaram karma buddhi yogat. You have to use your intelligence whether I am doing this on the platform of pure consciousness or on the platform of this body. Kripana phala hetava. The word kripana is very significant. There are two classes of men. Kripana means a miser, and just the opposite is brahmana. Miser means one who has enough assets but does not spend them. He simply sees his money and is satisfied. He does not properly utilize his assets. He's called kripana. And Brahmana means one who knows I have a spiritual identity. I'm qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord as his part and parcel. And Kripana means one who has not utilized this human form of the body to understand that he has spiritual identity as Brahman, but simply knows that I'm this body, and because this body was born in a certain place, I'm identified with the country, society, and family. One who does not utilize this body for the perfection, for liberation, is called Kripana. So Prabhupada is giving a very beautiful definition of the meaning of the word Kripana. So Kripana means that I have $1 million, but I do not want to spend. I want to hold off to that money as much as possible, even to the point of not feeding my, my own kinsmen, my children. That is Kripana mentality. So here Prabhupada explains, on the other side, there is a word called Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who likes to give with whatever he has. And the best thing what a Brahmana can give or one can give is Krishna consciousness to others. So to that point, here there are a few points Prabhupada is making in the purport. Let's have a look at them. First, it gives the definition of miser. They do not know how to engage their assets acquired by good fortune, hard labor. And then he gives the example of human energy should be used for Krishna consciousness, but misers want to enjoy fruitive work. So you see, there is this tendency for us when we engage in any kind of activity to become bhoktaram. The word bhokta means to enjoy, and Rama means pleasure. One who wants to enjoy the pleasure. So similarly, we understand from the eyes of Bhagavad Gita that actually the real Bhoktaram is Krishna. There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapassam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati. That one who understands me to be the benefactor of all the sacrifices, and also as well as the benefactor of all the demigods, such a person attains peace from the pangs of all material miseries. So that is the quality of a Brahmana which is being spoken here. And whereas a miser is on the other side, he wants to hold things he does not want to give. And Prabhupada gives a very good understanding. He says that he may have acquired it by some good fortune and hard labor, but what happens is he attaches himself as that figure of what he has produced in the course of his life, and he thinks I'm the doer. Whereas the message we get from Bhagavad Gita is Prakrite Kriya Manani Gunha Karmani Sarvasha Ahankara Vimudhatma Kartaham iti manyate. That the bewildered soul by the three modes of material nature thinks that I am the doer, but actually all activities are being done by him under the modes of material nature. But a person like this, Prabhupada is giving example, his human energy should be used for Krishna consciousness. But misers want to enjoy. They think, oh, I'm happy, let me enjoy and be happy in this life. So that's the first point, the definition of miser. So in real sense, one is in the material world, you can understand the example I gave from a millionaire. But from a Krishna consciousness perspective, the answer is to not have a mentality, or to have a mentality to be able to enjoy my own results is actually a mentality of being a miser, very simply put by Srila Prabhupada. And we also understand from this beautiful book called Ishopanishad, from the invocation mantra, that everything which is being created coming from the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Whole is actually, there is a quota being set aside for all of us. And one should only take what is required as much as to, to keep ourselves going in this Krishna consciousness or in our life, and everything else which is being set aside for us, we should take that and leave the other part for others. Actually, that is a real Krishna conscious principle given by Ishopanishad book. The second point is, what does abominable activities refer here? Fruitive acts, all acts which bind to the birth and death, all actions except Krishna consciousness, because they continuously bind us to the cycle of birth and death. This morning I was hearing a lecture of Srila Prabhupada, and in that lecture, Srila Prabhupada made a very beautiful point. He gives a very simple definition of this lecture. He was speaking on the words Dehinosmin Yatha Dehe. I'm sure all of you are hearing now Prabhupada's jukebox. In that, you must have been pleasantly surprised to note that how many lectures Prabhupada gave in this verse Dehinosmin Yatha Dehe. Any guesses how many lectures Srila Prabhupada gave on this verse? Somebody sent a message on the chat box. Okay, these are birthday wishes coming. Okay, so the message the classes Prabhupada gave are 8 in total and 9 with the text 14 as well he gave. So imagine, I think the most amount of lectures probably, I mean, I'm yet to explore all, but you can imagine, one may think, okay, the same verse, Prabhupada, Dehinosmin Yatha Dehe Komaram Yovanam Jara Yovanam Jara Tatha Dehantra Prapti Dhiras Tatra Namuyati. It's the same simple verse I recite, Prabhu. I know this verse, Prabhuji. Prabhupada is speaking 8 lectures, and I was thinking about it, 8 classes on one verse. Prabhupada could have easily gone over that verse by just giving one session. It's such a fundamental point that, and Prabhupada is saying, until we come to the point of understanding that we are not the body, it's very difficult for us to begin our journey in the real sense of Krishna consciousness. So, yeah, so that's the first thing. So fruitive acts, all acts which bind us to birth and death. So in that class, Prabhupada was saying, my point was, he was giving the definition of, there are 2 kinds of humans Prabhupada was explaining. One category is called Deva, and the other category is called Asura. And Prabhupada simply gave a very nice definition. He said, a Deva is one who is a devotee of the Lord, and Asura is one who's not a devotee of the Lord. So in one sense, anyone who's not situated in Krishna consciousness, or rather, let's say godly consciousness, because some people follow, if they follow Christianity, as Prabhupada very much appreciated, who did to the point of really following it properly. So those are Deva. But others, unfortunately, are not Deva, they are simply Asuras. So similarly here, Prabhupada is saying all acts which bind to the birth and death, all action except Krishna consciousness, because they continuously bind us to the cycle of birth and death, they are abominable activities. And Parikshit Maharaj also in the Bhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami, while speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, makes this point very, very clear to Parikshit Maharaj at the end of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the last chapter, when he's giving the descriptions of the various hells which are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. coming to the point of the 6th canto, beginning of the 6th canto, where the story of the Ajamil was spoken. And just before the chapter had begun, the reason Ajamil's story came in is because of this question of Parikshit Maharaj, that what is the point of atoning when one is like, atones, then sins, atones, and then does sinful activity? Because Sukhdev Goswami had given him some solution, which I don't quite precisely recall, that if you do this, then you'll be able to. But Parikshit Maharaj said, no, that doesn't make sense. And then Sukhdev Goswami clarifies that that was to test Parikshit Maharaj. Our Acharya has explained. But the real atonement is Krishna consciousness. When you take to that process, then you're working with the problem at its root, and that is the best way to work on the problem. And here in the next couple of paragraphs, Prabhupada explains, I'll read two more paragraphs. Very nice lecture Prabhupada gave. Kripana phala hetava. Now, if you think I'm earning for my palatable dishes, why shall I offer them to God? Very nice point Prabhupada is making. There are so many encumbrances. I'm not going to do it. Then you are Kripana, a miser. Brahmana means udara. This is nice. Udara means liberal. The opposite of Kripana is liberal. I offer this body for the service of the Supreme. Is to be so much liberal, not for my sense enjoyment. So one who engages the body for sense enjoyment is called Kripana, a miser, and one who engages the body for the service of the Supreme Lord is called Brahmana. Here the Lord says, don't be Kripana. It will be clearly stated by the Lord in a later chapter, Yat karosi, yat juhosi, yat ashnasi, tadasi, yat kurushava, tad mad arpanam. The karma yoga process is whatever you do, whatever you take, the trouble for, whatever you eat, everything else should be offered to me. That is called karma yoga or yogastha. But the people have developed such a consciousness at the present moment that whenever they hear of God or whenever they hear of some religion, they at once become adverse to it. Here it is emphasized, Durena, he avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya. By practice of God consciousness, throw away all other work. Don't do any work which you cannot do in God consciousness. And here it is enjoined, Buddho sharanam anvicha kripana phala hetava. Only those who are kripana, those who are not self-realized, hanker after sense gratification. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor, but Arjuna, you should work on the spiritual platform and not do anything which cannot be done in God consciousness. Buddhi by intelligence takes shelter of the Supreme Lord. And I do want to read this very appropriate. I think the lecture is almost, let me see how big is the transcription of Prabhupada. This is such a beautiful lecture Prabhupada gives. Yeah, I'll read one more paragraph, I suppose, and then we can end on that. Prabhupada is saying, in this way, now suppose I'm writing books on paper, you see, there's hardly a lecture you come across of Prabhupada where he doesn't refer his books or writing or distribution. Now suppose I'm writing books on paper, all right, who has given me the paper? Now make a philosophical study. Well, I purchased the paper from the market. How is paper supplied to the market? It is manufactured in mills. Oh, where did they get the raw materials? From wood. And how is the wood produced? In this way, you come to God. You cannot produce wood. You simply bring wood from the forest and make paper. You cannot manufacture the raw materials. Raw materials have to be taken from God's stock. Now, if the raw materials are taken from God's stock, then how does the paper become yours? This is God consciousness. We can simply transform things from one form to another. That's all. We can only give our labor. So that is the sum and bonum of Prabhupada's purport. He's on this lecture, he's trying to say that let's try to connect Krishna Sambandha and Nirbandha. Like we have to connect everything to Sambandha with Krishna, in relationship to Krishna. Then that thing becomes a yajna. That becomes a sacrifice in the best possible way to do it. And how difficult it is, like which scripture will tell us the simplest and the easiest way to please the Lord? Only a beautiful literature like Bhagavad Gita can tell us, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yo me Bhaktya Prayashati Tad Aham Bhakti Uparitam Ashnami Prayatat Manaha. That, my dear Arjuna or my dear devotee, I'm pleased just by a water, some flowers, some fruits, and fruits, flowers, and leaves. And of course, we know the leaf referred here is Tulsi. But just imagine, all we have to do is just offer these small, simple thing. And Prabhupada in that purpose and in many classes, he gives this example that these things are very readily available. If you can't even find fruit, Krishna has given us few options. You can offer him water, and he's pleased by that. Why? Because he's after our devotion. He's not really thirsty. He's completely satiated there in spiritual world. He has no lack of flowers. The gopis of Vrindavan are constantly meditating on him, and you know, doing such beautiful garlands. They're putting together, making such beautiful garlands for the Lord. So there's no lack of these things for Krishna, but only because to accept our devotion, he is giving us this beautiful formula. So what is the right course of action for living entities? Buddhi yoga or transcendent loving service to the Lord. This is the best course of action for the Lord, for us to please the Lord, is to be situated in the spiritual consciousness as much as possible. So I have a message here. The service attitude becomes perfect when we learn to do our work for the pleasure of the Supreme. Absolutely. Um, if I'm not wrong, is that Bhagwati Mataji? Am I right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Yes, the service attitude becomes perfect when we learn to do our works for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, dedicating all the fruits to Him. Absolutely. And where possible, even activities. So we will stop here and see if there's any questions or comments for the next 6-7 minutes. And then we will sing a beautiful bhajan called Jagannath Ashtakam. And that way we can try to prepare ourselves for the London Rath Yatra. Is a historical Rath Yatra, because after the Rath Yatra in San Francisco and LA, this was the biggest festival Prabhupada was so much excited about. In his book, Rancho Prabhu writes, When the Sun Shines, this description of the Rath Yatra which was happening, and Prabhupada was super excited to come to it. And you have all seen that beautiful video of Prabhupada jumping on his just outside area of his asan and throwing roses, and that time thousands of people came to Trafalgar Square. So it's a very great opportunity tomorrow for us to take part in this wonderful pastime of Jagannath Rath Yatra. The Lord is so merciful. He's coming out, and he's coming out. Why? Because his devotee, like Prabhupada, desired it, that, you know, in every town. And how big a town is London? You know, such a famous town. We are so fortunate. His Grace Karthik Chand Prabhu, such an amazing devotee in our congregation, once told me, when we were discussing about book distribution, that how important London was. And he was saying that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there was a time when he used to go to bed with the map of London under his bed, you know, especially when he sent his disciples to England first time. And so he always had London in his mind. And Prabhu said, now look, Prabhupada conquered London by these 6 devotees, you know, Yamuna, Gurudas, Shyam Sundar Prabhu, all these wonderful souls, you know. So it was so nice, actually. Okay, any comments or questions? Anybody likes to share any thought about tomorrow's? If you heard anything about Lord Jagannath, would you like to share something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I wanted to ask you
Yes, please
about
go ahead.
the books. They're going to be readily available in the square, I believe.
Absolutely, Mataji. They will be readily available in the square. You're absolutely right. By Krishna's mercy and the mercy of Vaishnavas, His Grace Sutapa Prabhu has been very kind to give us not just one. We have 2 gazebos. One, we would like to dedicate and meditate on Srimad Bhagavatam, because Bhadra Purnima is coming. So we would be decorating that. Myself and Vrindavan Chand Prabhu are praying and hoping to get there at 9:30 tomorrow morning to start setting up our stalls and see to be ready to try and introduce Bhagavatam. And then another stall will be set up with the other books of Prabhupada, but predominantly focused on praise of Queen Kunti.
Okay.
So let me ask a question now that you've asked. Let me ask a counter question. How many of you are going to Rath Yatra tomorrow? Show me a thumbs up. by using your reaction button. There is a thumbs up there. It's very simple. If you go at the bottom of your chat, you'll see reactions. If you click on reaction, you can just click on thumbs up or put in the chat that we will be there. Okay, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu is going. It's a festival. Don't miss. Take precautions. Wear the mask. Try not to. It's very difficult. Try not to get very. No need. It's very difficult. But yes, keep whatever best precaution you can. Okay, looks like many of you are going. Bhagwati Mataji is going. Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu is going. Hema
Prabhuji,
Mataji.
can I ask a question?
Yes, Varsha Mataji, you can ask a question.
Well, I won't be able to make it because I live too far away. And in these circumstances, is there any way I can join in?
Yes, you can, Mataji. So my suggestion will be, if you go onto our Idea Seeds website, this is my suggestion, Mataji, rather than the best thing is to try and personally, if you can, just order 10 books for yourself. I know you wanted to order 2, but order 10. It's only, £2. Let the 10 books come to you and you can distribute them over a month or even after a month.
No, I've ordered 10, Prabhuji.
Okay, well done. So
8.
you're very much there. So you have participated by ordering those books, and
Yeah.
Lord Jagannath will be very pleased by your offering, Varsha Mataji. Thank you so much.
When did we get them,
10
Prabhuji?
because
Sorry, Varsha Mataji.
I've ordered 10, 2 to send to me and the other 8 to be donated to anybody who needs it.
Absolutely, and Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu is so happy to receive all of your orders now. And I'm just sharing the website. Many devotees are asking me, where can I order these books? So if you go on ideaseeds.org, I've shared the message. Then you click on the bookstore. There you will find Praise of Queen Kunti. If you want to take part in this wonderful marathon this month on Praise of Queen Kunti, so just go to that book and order 10 books, and they will be delivered to your home. Give it to friends and family. It's a beautiful book. Many devotees are reading it, meditating on it. These are nice praise of Queen Kunti, actually.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. I think somebody else had another question.
Yeah, sorry. Can I just be clear, because I did put my name down on the link where we have to contribute the books. So can we not get them tomorrow from the stall?
Yes, absolutely. That's why I said, Mataji, this question I was answering to Mataji, who cannot come there to the yatra.
Okay.
So
All right.
the books will be there at the stall. Please encourage all your friends in the circle to come and collect. Tell them to collect 10 books and just distribute to your friends, family, and they will be very much available tomorrow at Trafalgar Square. I can even tell you, I believe our stall number is 26 and 28 or 27 or 28. You will see us. I mean,
okay, no problem.
I'll be at the stall. Vrindavan Chand Prabhu will be there, and few of us are going to be serving there. So feel free to come and see us.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great.
Okay,
No
Hare
problem.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, please can you send the link to sponsor the books, please?
Yeah, so you can do it, Mataji, by ordering. So in the note section, if you do not want the books, you can just write down that I would like to sponsor. But my humble suggestion is just order it for yourself, because even if you don't give it this month, you'll be able to give it. Somebody will knock on your door. Somebody will deliver a delivery. You'll make friends with them and just hand out a book, and their life will change for all you know.
Where is the link, please?
I've just shared it in the chat box, Mitali Mataji.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me check.
Idea, just give me 1 second. Just 1 second. I'll be back. 1 minute.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, any other comments or questions before we get into Jagannath Astakam? Okay, if there are no questions, then my humble invitation to all of you to please visit us at Trafalgar Square after the procession and come to our stall, pick up the books. I'm getting a lot of books, and BBD does go through a lot of pain in shipping, bringing those books directly. So considering the hard work and labor of the BBT and many devotees, please take more than 10 if you like, because it's a very beautiful book. So distribute them as much as possible this month, and let's give the mercy of Queen Kunti to everybody so they can understand the mood of a pure devotee. So I'm just going to bring in Jagannath Ashtakam on my screen, and Vindarika Ramya and hopefully Sachi and Sridham can also join her. So let's read the translation. In the interest of time, if it is okay with you all, I am going to start reading the maybe first translation, and then I will ask Sachi if she's able to see the screen. She can read the second, Sridham can read the third, and then we can have Vrindarika read the fourth, and then 5, 6, 7 and 8 and 9 can be read by, I'm just going to call out the names, so one by one you can read. Anita Mataji, Anju Mataji, then we can have Chetna Mataji, and we can have last one, Hema Mataji. So the names which just came in the order. So let's start. I'll start with the first translation of Jagannath Ashtakam. Or I'll start with the first meaning. Ashtaka refers to the number 8, and the Jagannath means Lord of the universe. This particular song consists of 8 verses specifically glorifying the Lord of the universe, Lord Jagannath, Lord Krishna, originally uttered from the mouth of Lord Chaitanya 500 years back. Wow. First Ashtakam. Who sometimes fervently plays his flute on the banks of Yamuna river in Sri Vrindavan, who's like a bumblebee that blissfully tastes the lotus faces of the Vraj gopis, and whose feet are worshipped by great personalities such as Lakshmi, Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Ganesha, may that Sri Jagannath Dev be the object of my vision.
Who holds a flute in his left hand, who wears a peacock feather on his head, and a fine yellow silken cloth around his hips, who from the corner of his eye bestows loving sidelong glances upon his companions, and who is forever known as the one who performs wondrous pastimes in the divine abode of Sri Vrindavan. May that Sri Jagannath Dev be the object of my vision.
Who on the shore of the great ocean resides in a place situated on the gold-like crest of Nilachana Hill, accompanied by the powerful brother Baladevaji, and between them his sister Subhadra, and who bestows the opportunity to serve it upon all the demigods. May that true Jagannath Deva be the object of my vision.
Who is an ocean of mercy, whose bodily complexion is as beautiful as a row of blackish rain clouds, who sports with Lakshmi Devi and Saraswati, whose face is like a spotless, fully blossomed lotus, who is worshipped by the foremost demigods, and whose transcendental glories have been sung in the topmost scriptures. May that Sri Jagannath Dev be the object of my vision.
When Jagannath Yatra, Rath Yatra cart is moving along the road, at every step, assembles of Brahmanas sing his praise. Upon hearing them, Jagannath being an ocean of mercy and the true friend of all the world, becomes favorably disposed towards them. May the Sri Jagannath Deva be the object of my vision. Sorry, finding it difficult to read.
No, thank you, Anita Mataji. Okay, whoever I had called out the names.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Okay.
Who is the crown jewel of transcendence, whose eyes are like the petals of fully opened blue lotus, who resides at Nilachala, whose feet are placed on the head of Sesha, who is blissfully immersed in bhakti rasa, and who derives happiness from embracing the rasa-laden body of Srimati Radhika. May that Sri Jagannath Deva be the object of my vision. Hare Krishna.
I do not pray to Jagannatha for a kingdom, nor for gold, jewels, wealth, or even for a beautiful wife as desired by all men. My only prayer is that Sri Jagannatha Deva, whose splendid glories are always sung by Shiva, be the constant object of my vision.
O Lord of the demigods, please quickly remove this useless material existence I'm undergoing. O Lord of the Yadus, please destroy this vast, shoreless ocean of sins. Alas, this is certain, Lord Jagannath bestows his lotus feet upon those who feel themselves fallen and have no shelter in this world but him. May that Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision.
One who carefully recites the sacred Jagannath Astakam, upon becoming sinless and pure-hearted, will attain entrance into Vishnu Loka. Sri Jagannath Astakam ki jai. So this, as you can see, is so relevant to our text which we read. One who carefully recites this sacred Jagannath Astakam upon becoming sinless and pure-hearted will attain entrance into Vishnu Loka. So Krishna is telling Arjuna one idea how to get away from sin, and now we can practically learn from this Jagannath Astakam by singing it carefully. And that benediction is there given to us by Sankaracharya, who wrote this beautiful prayer of Jagannath Astakam. So let's start behind the muted mics. We can recite this beautiful Jagannath Astakam. Over to you, Vindharikaramya.
Can you make it a little bit bigger, please?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Kadachit kalindita tavipina sangita taralo mudabhirinari vadana kamala swada madhupa Rama Shambhu Brahma Marapati Ganesharchita Pado Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Tujhe Save Venum Shirashi Sikhi Picham Katitate Dukulam netrante sahachara kataksham chavidadat Sada Srimad Vrindavanavasati Lila Parichayo Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Mahambodestire kanakaruchire nila shikare Vasan prasadanta sahaja balabhadrena balina Subhadra madhyasthan sakala sura seva vasarado Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Kripa Paravara Sajala Jalada Shreni Ruchiro Ramavani Rama Spura Dhamala Pankeru Hamukha Surendra Radhya Shruti Ganas Sikha Gita Charito
Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Ratharudho gachan pati milita bhudeva patale Stuti pradurbhavam pratipadam upakarnya sadaya Daya Sindhur Bandhu Shakala Jagatam Sindhu Sutaya Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Param Brahma Pida Kuvalaya Dalot Kulanayano Nivasi Niladroni Hitacharano Ananta Shirasi Rasanandi Radha Sarasavapura Lingana Suko Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Navaya Cherajamna Chakana Kamanikya Vibhavam Naya Cheham Ramyam Shakala Janagamyam Barabadon Sada Kale Kale Pramatapati Nagita Charito Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Hara Tvam Samsaram Drutataram Masaram Surapate Hara Tvam Papanam Vitatima Param Yadavapate Aho dihenate nihita charanam nishchitamidam Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Jagannatashtakam punyam yapatet prayata suchi Sarva papam vishuddha atma vishnu lokam sagacchati Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me.
Very nice, wonderful.
Hari Bol.
Wonderful recitation of Shri Jagannath Ashtakam by Vindarika Mataji. May Lord Jagannath bless you immensely so that you can inspire so many other wonderful souls. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you everyone for appreciating and for the birthday wishes as well. Thank you. Please pray for me.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
Happy birthday, dear Vindarika.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you. Love and blessings to you, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare
I'm so happy.
Krishna.
You made my day. Thank you.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare
Happy,
Krishna, Prabhuji.
many happy returns.
It's
Hare
very timely.
Krishna.
It's 8:45. We finish on time. So
Thank you, Hare
thank you
Krishna,
everyone for
Prabhu.
joining us. See you all tomorrow at the Rath Yatra. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
And also, sorry, I forgot to mention, Girish Prabhu also has many books. I know you can also reach out to him and Shabani Mataji. They are based in Chicago. They have some books, but if you're looking to order them, then you can reach out to Idea Seeds and Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu and Devam Patni Mataji will happily ship to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhuji, where
Krishna.
do I pray? Where do I give the Lakshmi for the
Hare
books?
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, if you where you mean you can order it online, or if you how do you want to collect the books?
I can do it if you're posting it because Jyoti
Yeah, so just
Mataji.
pay it on the website, Mataji, on ideaseeds.org on there.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Mataji's name, Prabhuji. Birthday wishes, Mataji's name.
Yeah, Vrindarika Ramaya Dasi ma.
Huh? Brindarika.
Vrindarika Ramaya Dasi.
Okay, can I just sing one song, Prabhuji? Birthday song.
Sure, Mataji, sure. I just, yeah, she's still online. She's still hearing. Go ahead, Mataji, yes.
Janmadinamidam Ai Priya Vrinda Mataji Janmadinamidam Ai Priya Vrinda Mataji Shamtanotu te sarvadamudam Shamtanotu te sarvadamudam प्रार्थयामहे भवशतायुषी प्रार्थयामहे भवशतायुषी ईश्वरा सदा त्वं च रक्षतु ईश्वरा सदा त्वं च रक्षतु पुण्यकर्मणा कीर्तिमर्जया पुण्यकर्मणा कीर्तिमर्जया जीवनं तव भवतु सार्थकम् जीवनं तव भवतु सार्थकम् भवतु सार्थकम्. Today is your birthday, dear Vrinda Mataji. Let this birthday bring peace to you. I pray that you live 100 years. May God protect you always. Gain glory through meritorious acts and let your life be fruitful. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so
Hare
much,
Krishna.
Mataji. Was that in Sanskrit?
Yes. It is actually, I think, Chinmay Mission, I think from that thing they had come. Sanskrit birthday song. All of us sing English song Happy Birthday. So we
Yeah.
thought like we should sing Sanskrit songs for Happy Birthday.
That's beautiful, Mataji. Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for
You're
the
welcome,
wonderful
Mataji.
blessings. Thank you, Mataji.
You're
Hare
welcome, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everybody. Vanchakalpatarubhya Kripasindhubhya Salam Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna, everybody. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.